Kanat had always preferred the solitude of the outer rim mining stations. The red dust of Kepler 442c swirled around his boots as he made his daily rounds, checking the automated extractors that pulled precious metals from the planet's crust. It was honest work, far from the political machinations of Earth's core worlds, and exactly the kind of isolation he craved after his military discharge. That morning started like any other until he heard the crash. The sound echoed across the barren landscape, metal against stone, followed by an ominous silence. Kanat grabbed his emergency kit and raced toward the source, his breath forming small clouds in the thin atmosphere. What he found defied explanation. A sleek, organic-looking craft had embedded itself in the canyon wall, its bioluminescent panels flickering weakly like a dying heartbeat. Inside the wreckage, he discovered her. The alien girl, no woman, was unlike anything in the galactic databases. Her skin held an iridescent quality that shifted between deep purple and silver, and delicate crystalline structures ran along her temples like natural circuitry. She was unconscious, her breathing shallow, with strange symbols glowing faintly beneath her translucent skin. "Easy there," Kanat whispered, though he doubted she could understand. He carefully extracted her from the twisted metal, noting how her body felt surprisingly light despite her human-like proportions. Her clothes, if they could be called that, seemed to be grown rather than woven, adapting to her form like a second skin. Back at his habitat dome, Kanat did what he did best. He improvised. His military medic training kicked in as he stabilized her vitals using equipment designed for humans, but adaptable enough for basic alien physiology. The real challenge came when her bioluminescent patterns began fluctuating wildly, suggesting some form of systemic failure. Hours turned into days. Kanat barely slept, monitoring her condition and trying different approaches. He noticed that certain frequencies from his music collection seemed to stabilize her patterns, particularly classical Earth compositions. Bach appeared to resonate with whatever biological systems kept her alive. On the third day, she opened her eyes. They were the color of nebulae, deep cosmic blue shot through with silver stars. When she spoke, the words were melodic, incomprehensible, but somehow conveying gratitude. Kanat had rigged a basic translation program using fragments from her ship's computer, and slowly, communication became possible. Her name was Malice, and she was a scout from a people called the Viridian Collective. More importantly, she was royalty, though the concept didn't translate perfectly. Among her people, leadership was determined by genetic markers that appeared as the crystalline structures Kanat had noticed. She had been fleeing an arranged bonding ceremony, preferring exile to a life without choice. "Your people will search for you," Kanat said through the translator as Malice recovered her strength. "They believe me dead," she replied, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with what he'd learned indicated sadness. "The crash was not accidental. I chose the void rather than bondage." Kanat understood something about choosing freedom over expectation. He'd left Earth's military for similar reasons. "You're welcome to stay as long as you need." Over the following days, Malice proved to be remarkably adaptable. She learned basic standard quickly and showed genuine curiosity about human culture. In return, she shared stories of the Collective, a matriarchal society where women held positions of power, but were ultimately bound by genetic destiny. Her people were long-lived, technologically advanced but rigid in their social structures. "Your species is remarkable," Malice observed one evening as they watched Kepler 442c's twin moons rise. "You adapt, you choose your own paths. Among my people, such freedom is like unthinkable." "Freedom's not free," Kanat replied. "We make mistakes, hurt each other, start wars. But we also get to decide who we become." 2 weeks after the crash, everything changed. Kanat was outside performing routine maintenance when the sky darkened with ships, not the sleek bioorganic craft like Malice had piloted, but massive vessels that seemed grown from the same living technology, their surfaces pulsing with coordinated light patterns. They landed in perfect formation around his habitat. From each ship emerged figures that shared Malice's ethereal beauty, but carried themselves with unmistakable authority. Warriors, diplomats, and what Kanat could only describe as alien nobility. At their head walked a woman whose crystalline structures covered half her face in intricate patterns, her bioluminescence so bright it cast actual shadows. When she spoke, the translation came through clearly. "Human Kanat of Earth, I am High Mother Seraphine of the Viridian Collective. You have saved our daughter, our heir, our future. By the ancient codes, you have claim to her life debt. Malice appeared at Kanat's side. Her patterns now blazing with what he'd learned meant excitement mixed with apprehension. Cannot my people follow the old ways? When someone saves a life of the royal bloodline, tradition demands that the savior may choose their reward, Seraphine interrupted, including bonding rights to the one saved should both consent. The implications hit Kanat like a meteor impact. Dozens of Viridian women stood before him, their patterns pulsing in unified anticipation. But this wasn't about ancient debts or alien customs. I have a different proposal, Kanat said, his voice steady despite the surreal situation. Malice sought freedom to choose her own path. That's what I gave her, choice. If she wants to return to your people, she should. If she wants to stay and learn about human ways, she should. But the decision is hers. The silence stretched for long moments. Then Malice's patterns flared brilliant white. Pure joy, Kanat had learned. This, she said to her people, this is why their species fascinates me. They understand that true strength comes not from binding others, but from setting them free. High Mother Seraphine studied Kanat with ancient eyes. You would refuse bonding rights to royalty? I'd refuse to make choices for someone else, Kanat replied. That's not how humans love. The bioluminescent communication that followed between the Viridians was too rapid for the translator, but Kanat saw the moment when understanding dawned on their faces. These were beings who had mastered space and time, but perhaps they had something to learn about freedom. Human Kanat, Seraphine said finally. The Viridian Collective would learn more of your ways, perhaps. Cultural exchange is possible. Malice stepped closer to Kanat, her hand finding his. Perhaps, she said. Some choices lead to better destinations than duty ever could. As the twin moons set over Kepler 442c, Kanat realized his quiet mining operation was about to become something entirely different. But for the first time in years, he was looking forward to the complications. After all, the best adventures always began with a single choice to help someone in need. And